That's probably a good thing to do, right? The push notifications for the program, let's see, they have gone out. And there we go. Yeah, all right, so we're up and live going here. And want to say hello to our friends who are watching the program right now. Tim, Rick, good morning, Rick. How are you doing? Reggie, thanks for listening, you guys who are just now joining. I'm gonna stop talking here. We got 15 seconds.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being with us. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality where we are building a liberty machine. Man, the big story, first of all, we got a great show for you, but the big story today is this Donald Trump bringing Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer inside the White House and then inviting the press inside the Oval Office for them to have what was a fantastic conversation. But the Democrat Party is clearly the party against a border wall, which also means they are against border security. I know they want to claim that they're for border security, but at this point, this is just petty. The Democrat Party doesn't want to give President Donald Trump a wall because it would be he'd be an effective president at keeping his promise, right? It's just for spite. They just don't want to do it. I mean, it's very clear that border security is better where there is an obstacle in the way of people being able to cross. It's pretty much common sense considering all these people who are coming over, the caravan, they're all coming on foot. And you put a wall up, and it makes things a lot easier to police, right? It's very, very simple. People have been building walls for thousands of years. The Democrats are perfectly fine with Israel constructing a wall to stop terrorists, but they are, for some reason, against our own country having a wall. It doesn't make any sense. But we're going to get into this in just a second. But before we do, let me tell you what's coming up on the program, okay? We got a packed show for you. The Patriots of Act 746's Tim Loggins. We're going to be talking about red flag laws. He's on at 6:30, okay? He's at the bottom of this hour. Then at 7:05, very exciting, from the Cato Institute, we're going to have Mr. Michael Tanner on. Now, he's got a new book out that I think is interesting. It's called The Inclusive Economy, How to Bring Wealth to America's Poor. And he criticizes some people on the right and our conceptions about, why the poor are poor. He also criticizes people on the left in his book. So I'm going to have him on and just talk about this a little bit. He's from the Cato Institute. Again, Michael Tanner on at 7:05 about his new book that just came out on December the 7th. Again, The Inclusive Economy, How to Bring Wealth to America's Poor. Then at 7:33, from the Heartland Institute, Dr. Jay Lear will be with us. He is editor at Rational Readings on Environmental Concerns. We're going to be talking to him about, I would assume, climate change and things like that. Matter of fact, I've got this one story here. Yeah, here it is. Democrat socialist wonder kid Ocasio-Cortez compares her election to landing on the moon and and wiring America for electricity, saying we've done what we thought was impossible. Oh, man. Wow. Really? Wow. Then we have this story here. Let's see. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez calls Sarah Sanders a liar. Interesting. Okay, but we'll talk about this. You know, there's this need, or there's this a call now on the left for a Green New Deal, is what they're saying. But let's get to the biggest part of. I'm telling you, this was incredible. This was great to see. Two people or three people that supposedly hate each other. And, you know, if you listen to the media, I mean, we know that Nancy and Chuck, they hate Trump, right? But to actually see them have to sit in the same room and have to negotiate knowing that the public is watching. And Trump appears to be the same person he is all the time, right? Not so much for them, I think. Joe, go ahead. I've got this queued up. President Trump, in the very beginning, he takes 5 minutes and he talks about the criminal justice reform bill that's going to have a vote now. He talks about the things that Democrats are working together with Republicans on, like criminal justice reform, whether you love it or hate it. I know it's a debate, but we're going to have that debate right now. And then he turns to Nancy and he gives her the opportunity to talk, because we're talking about a potential government shutdown here. And Trump says he's willing to shut down the government. And you just need to listen or watch it for yourself if you haven't already. No, right there.
But we have an agreement on other things that are really good. Nancy, would you like to say something?
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to meet with you so that we can work together in a bipartisan way to meet the needs of the American people. I think the American people recognize that we must keep government open, that a shutdown is not worth anything, and that you should not have a Trump shutdown. You have the White House, the Trump shutdown. You have the White House, you have the Senate, you have the House of Representatives, you have the votes. You should pass it right now.
No, we don't have the votes, Nancy, because in the Senate we need 60 votes.
No, but in the House,
and we don't
you
have.
could bring it up right now.
Yeah, but I can't, excuse me, but I can't get it passed in the House if it's not going to pass in the Senate. I don't want to waste time.
Well, the fact is, you can get it started that way.
The House we could get passed very easily,
Okay,
and we
then
do.
do it. Then
But
do
the
it.
problem is the Senate, because we need 10 Democrats to vote, and
That's
they
not
won't
the
vote.
point, Mr. President. The point is that there are equities to be weighed, and we're here to have a conversation in a
Correct.
prayerful way, so I don't think we should have a debate in front of the press on this.
Wonder why
But the
not.
fact is, the House Republicans could bring up this bill, if they had the votes, immediately, and set the tone for what you want.
If we thought we were going to get it passed in the Senate, Nancy, we would do it immediately. We'd get it passed very easily in the House.
No, that's
We
not
would
the
get it, Nancy, I'd have it passed in 2 seconds. It doesn't matter, though, because we can't get it passed in the Senate because we need 10 Democrat votes. That's the problem.
Again, let us have our conversation, then we
That's
can
right.
meet with the press again. But the fact is that legislating, which is what we do,
Right.
you begin, you make your
Oh,
point,
my
you
goodness.
state your case. That's what the House Republicans could do, if they had the votes. But there are no votes in the House, a majority of votes, for a wall, no matter where you start.
Exactly right. You don't have
If I needed the votes for the wall in the House, I would have them in one session,
Well, then
would
go
be
do it.
done.
Go do it.
It doesn't help because we need 10 Democrats in
No,
the
don't
Senate.
put it on the Senate, put
course.
it on the negotiation.
Okay, let me ask you this, and we're doing this in a very friendly manner. It doesn't help for me to take a vote in the House where I will win easily with the Republicans.
You will not win.
It doesn't help to take that vote because I'm not going to get the vote
Don't put
of
it
the
on
Senate. I need
Mr.
10
President.
senators. That's
Mr.
the problem.
President, you have the White House, you have the Senate.
I have the
you
White House. The White
of
House is done, and the House would give me the vote
He
if I wanted
reminds
it.
him.
But I can't because
you
I need,
can't-
Nancy, I need
you
10
can't.
votes from Chuck.
All right, let me say
Mr. President,
something here.
Let me just say one thing. The fact is, we do not have the votes in the House.
Nancy, I do. And we need
Well, let's
border
take the
security.
vote, we'll
Nancy,
find out.
Nancy, we need border security. It's very simple.
Of course we do.
We need border
We
security.
do.
People are pouring into our country, including terrorists. We have terrorists. We caught 10 terrorists over the last very short period of time. 10. These are very serious people. Our border agents, all of our law enforcement has been incredible what they've done. But we caught 10 terrorists. These are people that were looking to do harm. We need the wall. We need more important than anything, we need border security, of which the wall is just a piece. But it's important. Chuck, did you want to say something?
Yeah, here's what I want to say. We have a lot of disagreements here. The Washington Post today gave you a whole lot of Pinocchios because they say you constantly misstate how much the wall is built, how much of the wall is built, and how much is there. But that's not the point here. We have a disagreement about the wall, whether it's effective or whatever. Not on border security, but on the wall. We do not want to shut down the government. You have called 20 times to shut down the government. You say, I want to shut down the government. We don't. We want to come to an agreement. If we can't come to an agreement, we have solutions that will pass the House and Senate right now and will not shut down the government, and that's what we're urging you to do. Not threaten to shut down the government, because let me just finish, because you can't get your way.
The last time you shut it down, you got killed.
Let me say something, Mr. President. You just say my way or we'll shut down the government. We have a proposal that Democrats and Republicans will support to do a CR that will not shut down the government. We urge you to take it.
And if it's not good border security, I won't take it.
It is very good border security.
And if it's not good border security, I won't take it.
It's what the
Because when you look at these numbers of the effectiveness of our border security, and when you look at the job that we're doing with our military...
You just said it is effective.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah, you just said it's
Without
effective.
a wall, these are only areas where you have the walls.
We want to do
Where
this.
you have walls, Chuck, it's effective. Where you don't have walls, it is not effective.
Yeah.
Let's call a halt to this. We've come in here as the first branch of government. Article 1, the legislative branch.
She's read the Constitution,
We're coming
ladies and
in
gentlemen.
good faith to negotiate with you about how we can keep the government
open.
We're going to keep it open if we have border security. If we don't have border security, Chuck,
I'm with you.
we're not going to keep it open.
I'm with you. We are going to have border security.
And it's the same border. You're bragging about what has been done.
By us.
We want to do the same thing we did last year, this year. That's our proposal. If it's good then, it's good now, and it won't shut down the government.
Chuck, we can build a
But that's
much
it.
bigger
Let's
section with
debate.
more money.
Let's debate in private. Okay? Yeah. Let's debate in private.
That is devoid, frankly, of fact, and we can.
We need
dispel
border
that.
security. I think we all agree that we need border security.
Yes,
Is that
we
right?
do.
Good.
We do.
See? We get along. Thank you, everybody.
President, you say border security and the wall. Can you have border security without the wall?
You need
Commonality
the
on
wall. The
security.
wall is a part
Are you
of border
redefining
security.
what it means to have border security?
Yeah, we need border security. The wall is a part of border security. You can't have very good border security without the wall, no.
That's simply not true.
Just
That
kidding.
is a political promise. Border security is a way to effectively honor our
And
responsibility.
the experts say you can do border security without a wall, which is wasteful and doesn't solve the problem.
It totally solves the
But I don't
problem.
want to take this,
And it's very important.
Unfortunately, this has spiraled downward when we came at a place to say, how do we meet the needs of American people who have needs? The economy has, people are losing their jobs, the market's in a mood. Our members are already
Well,
left
we have
their
the
homes.
lowest unemployment that we've had in 50 years.
60 people of the Republican Party are losing their offices now because of the transition. People are not, the morale
And we've gained
is
in the
not-
Senate. Nancy,
the
we've
morale-
gained in the Senate. Excuse me, did we win the Senate? We won the Senate.
When the president brags that he won North Dakota and Indiana, he's in real trouble.
When
I did.
Let me say this.
We did win
Let me say this.
North Dakota
This
and
is the
Indiana.
most unfortunate thing. We came in here
Wow,
in good
that's
faith.
what the left thinks of
and
Indiana.
we're entering into this kind of a discussion in the public view.
But it's not bad,
Let
Nancy.
us- No,
It's
but
called transparency.
I know, it's not transparency when we're not stipulating to a set of facts and when we wanted to have a debate with you about saying we confront some of those facts without.
You know
saying
what?
to the
We need
public,
border security.
this
That's
isn't
what we're going to be
true.
talking about, border security. If we don't have border security, we'll shut down the government. This country needs border security.
We
The
agree
wall
with
is a
that.
part of border security. Let's have a talk. We're going to get the wall built, and we've done
Okay.
a lot of wall already.
All right, so stop. That was an incredible exchange. The best line, and I was getting texts from people last night. The best line, it's called transparency, Nancy. Chuck Schumer's body language here looks like a menacing comic book villain. I don't know, is he always like this? You know, the president is calm. The president is cool, collected. He's stating his opinion about things. They're stating their opinion about things. But notice, Trump never accuses them of stating things that are not factually true. He just comes back with his opinion. It's Nancy Pelosi that says there's just a lot of untruths that are being said here. There's things that are being presented as facts that are not facts that are being said right now, and it's this idea. And people on the left, you'll find this in social media and left-wing publications. They constantly say things like President Trump is a serial liar. They say this all the time, right? But actually, if you look at the big claims that he has made, the media always jumps to criticize these big claims that he makes. But if you actually look over time, what he says initially is true. Remember when he said that his phones were tapped, that Trump Tower's phones were tapped, right? They said his phones weren't tapped. Generally speaking, specifically, they might not have. I don't know if they were, but generally speaking, what he was saying was that he was Carter Page or whatever. He was basically telling people that there were these FISA warrants before we knew any of the FISA application, before we knew any of how the Obama administration was spying on members of the Trump campaign. Right? That ended up being correct. It ended up being a true statement, but he doesn't credit for it anyway. Bottom line is this: President Trump, in this particular meeting yesterday, basically pulled the curtain back and got Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to firmly admit to the American people that they are not for a border wall. And it has actually brought the debate, really, I feel like, to a good place. Because the main crux of their argument is, it's a very simple one, does border security get better when you have a wall, when you have a fence, or where you have a barrier? I noticed on Tucker Carlson last night, he was saying the Democrats are for fences, but not a wall. What's the difference? Why is there such a divide here? And they're the ones projecting here. She's saying it's a political promise. The wall's a political promise. They're the ones playing politics here. Because if they were to give Donald Trump the votes and actually practically enhance our border security, their base would go crazy. Not because of border security, but because it would be an effective, promise kept by the president. And it would be admitting that it really is a problem, that it has been a problem. Now, so they're trying to claim, I can't even believe that they're not actually for border security, just so you know. I know they're saying that we're for border security. No, they're really, really not. They want illegal immigrants to continue to come here. They want continued suppression of wages, to shrink the middle class, because they want a new lower class that will eventually get the right to vote and continue voting. I mean, understand, why is Mexico so impoverished? Well, it's because they are very much a country that is based on cronyism. It's based on, they really can't take care of their poor, but you understand, there's a lot of poor people there, and that's why they're trying to come to America to seek a better life. It's in many cases, it's a perfect scenario for the big welfare state that they want, the mother government that they want, and they want, permanent class of voters. And they don't want border security. But even the Democrats, admitting that they kind of are admitting, because they don't want to come out to the American people and say, no, we're not for border security, because they know the American people, in a bipartisan fashion, do want some sort of border security. I mean, talk about who's playing politics here. It's the Democrats who are playing the politics, much more so than the president is. So anyway, it was a fascinating exchange yesterday. You're going to see it play out. I think that Nancy and Chuck Schumer were pretty upset that the media was let in, and that but this is good. I mean, can we all agree that this exchange was a refreshing exchange? I mean, to me, it's refreshing to see these people have to actually talk about each other to their faces. Like, if you're going to attack someone, attack them to their face, and Nancy and Chuck certainly did. President Trump trying to say, okay, well, we're here in good faith, and these are the disagreements. And it's so much more of a businessman environment. It's so much more of a, we're trying to reach a deal. Here's the rub. I think border security is enhanced when you have a wall, and the Democrats clearly are saying, no, the experts say that you don't need a wall. Okay, well, I think most Americans have common sense enough to understand that when you have a physical barrier and you're trying to keep people from crossing that physical barrier or that border line on foot, a big fence or a big wall would go a long way into making it easier to keep them out. So we're going to take a break, going to reset, and don't go anywhere, okay? Big news day today.
It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
We once again have Maria Espinoza is with us. Maria is the National Director of the Remembrance Project, which honors and remembers Americans and legal residents who've been killed by illegal aliens. Maria, welcome back to the program.
Hello, Paul. Thanks so much for having me on again. This is very sad, the same situation over and over again, the same story, and yet Congress refuses to give President Trump the funds needed to build a wall.
You're exactly right, and I was just going to say that I'm tired. I mean, I am so tired of reading stories like this. When this is something that is preventable. I mean, if we control who comes into this country, we may not catch everybody, but surely we can do better than what we're doing right now.
Absolutely, and it sends.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
So this meeting in the Oval Office with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer was, it happened right after the president said or tweeted that he'll use the military to build the wall if he has to. Now, think about this. The military's already been sent to the border. And this would assume, assuming it might require more troops. I have no idea the logistics behind it. I do know this, though. Donald Trump says he's willing to shut down the government. And I think this is a hill he's willing to die on, so to speak, because the American people are going to be with him. It's going to be it's going to be a massive show of support. Let me just say that. Massive show of support for this president. Willing to look at Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and say, yes, I am going to shut down the government. Now, if you rewind a little bit, the president said the last time we got to this point, and he wanted border wall funding, and they sent him a bill that was just filled with pork, and he signed it. And two things on that. Number one, he signed it because it did have massive increases. I think the largest military spending authorization ever in that bill. But it also had all this other stuff. Donald Trump signed it, and he used the military increase as justification for doing so. But then he also said this. He said, I will never sign a bill like this again. That's what he said. Now, whether or not that's true or not, I think we're about to find out. He wants funding for the border wall. He wants it to continue to be built. And I think he will shut down the government. What happens if he makes good on his promise and orders the military to begin construction of the wall under the concept of national security? Now, you just heard him say that they've captured 10 terrorists in the last couple of days trying to cross that border. Not to mention the opioid crisis, the drugs, the violence that comes with the drug business. Our southern border is arguably one of the most violent places on the planet in some stretches. The government of the United States exists for the sole purpose, the first purpose, is to secure the border, secure the actual land so that, we are protected and we are free in this country from outside forces. So can you imagine the optics of what it would look like? And I don't know if this is going to happen, but if Trump makes good on his threat to not only shut down the government but have the military build the wall, what if that happens? What if the government shuts down, and in the meantime, the President of the United States is still the President of the United States? So Washington shuts down, and the President then says, oh, by the way, we're going to use the military to build the wall. I'm going to make good on this, and there you go. I mean, you can mark it down that some judge somewhere is going to try to torpedo that and say, you can't do that. But I'm just wondering, at that point, like, what can a judge do when the President of the United States, as the executive branch, is in command of the military? Which, I mean, can a judge stop a president from ordering the military to do certain things? It will be very interesting. It's a very interesting legal question. We're going to be right back in just a moment.
Message, and right now the message is anyone who wants to come here and hurt and kill, maim an American citizen, it's okay. We only, and you can tell by the titles, and just do a quick search on the internet, Paul, and we can see that only the most horrific crimes or these illegal aliens are reported and basically are caught. Otherwise, there are so many illegals that are basically untouchable in the United States because of our sanctuary city policies and the fact that some jurisdictions refuse to cooperate with the federal agents.
On the sanctuary cities issue, how in the world do we go about tackling this? How does the president do it? I mean, anything he tries to do, there's going to be some court, that's just going to say, you can't do that. You can't cut off funds to our city.
Exactly. And, back about 5 years ago now, we sent letters, the Remembrance Project sent letters through another initiative called America First Latinos, because there were so many Latinos. We created this initiative that wanted to have a voice through the Remembrance Project, and who said, no, we don't align ourselves with illegal aliens. Sure, we might speak Spanish or Mexican heritage, but we're Americans first. And we sent letters to every state governor, Paul, because we saw that there were so many liberal judges all across the United States, not just judges, but, even, of course, city mayors and who control the police department. So we saw that this was taking place all across the United States. We wanted each governor to create an office for the victims so they could help navigate through the court system, which was going to, in my opinion, target these activists, far-left, liberal, agenda-driven judges. And as you can see, and you just mentioned, President Trump has stopped at every turn that he makes in trying to rectify and trying to make America safe so that our children have a future here and our businesses can, have a place in our communities to thrive. But, Paula, it's not going to end until a few things. One, we have to get the Republicans on the right track, and they're not on the right track. And I say that Republicans because the Democrats have absolutely rejected the Remembrance Project and even being a voice for American victims who've been killed by illegals. So we have to start prosecuting as well, Paul. I mean, let's be realistic here. If any one of us, any of your listeners, even so much as did anything wrong and broke the law, and especially federal law, we would be prosecuted. But yet, these mayors.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
That's funny. 870-275-9799. You can call or text that number. Sound off on our YouTube channel. Conduit News, subscribe, click the little bell to receive notifications. Folks, the Patriots of Act 746 are on a mission to educate Arkansans about your gun rights, your human right to self-defense. We have what's called constitutional carry in the state of Arkansas now, thankfully. It has been referenced now in a court opinion, in a circuit court opinion by a judge, verifying everything the Patriots of Act 746 has been saying for 5 years. What have they been saying? They've been saying that Act 746 of 2013 decriminalized the possession of a weapon to where you can carry a firearm, open or concealed, without a license, meaning without a permission slip from the government of the state of Arkansas. And the judge has referenced this in a Fourth Amendment case. It's now in dicta. We're still waiting on our leaders to say what the judge has said. But anyway, the Patriots is a great group. You need to search for them on Facebook. Go to facebook.com and search for the Patriots of Act 746 and ask to become a member of that group. 17,000 strong on Facebook. Joining us now to talk more about the Patriots of Act 746, the goals, things that they're concerned about in the upcoming legislative session in January. We have once again with us Mr. Tim Loggins joins us on the phone. Tim, how are you?
Good morning, Paul. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a pretty interesting news day with this border security and everything else. So I don't know. Days like this, it's easy on a talk radio host.
Makes it easy. Gives you plenty of material.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Tim, I want to talk about what are you concerned about when it comes to our gun rights here in Arkansas? What are you looking for? What are you watching for in the 2019 legislative session?
Paul, it would be easier to say what I'm not concerned about, what Patriots doesn't think is coming. I mean, the erosion of our gun rights is a battle that we engage in daily. There's a vested interest in Arkansas and across the nation to erode the Second Amendment. And you know, one of those concerns is possible red flag laws. We had the governor come out and say he was open to the idea of red flag laws. We had his law enforcement liaison clarify that position and say the governor was open to it in the name, basically, of political expediency. So he's willing to consider negotiating our rights away because of politics.
What does that mean, political expediency? And what political expediency? What out there has changed the political environment, or what out there could they have interpreted to have changed the political environment where we have to have, red flag laws? I don't get it. I don't know what are they talking about.
I want to start this by saying red flag laws are red herrings. They're a misdirection. And Arkansas has been pretty good at manufactured confusion. So we're not strangers to this concept. And what you have, Paul, is an indoctrination that's been going on for over 100 years about our gun rights. The liberals are very effective at shifting that Overton window. And I want to say this. If you allow the opposition to define the terms, you spend all your time legitimizing their position or having the wrong argument. In the name of public safety and playing upon the public sphere, they're talking about eroding our rights. And they're very good at it. And Doug didn't exactly say political expediency, but he said, the governor was elected to represent all of the people of the state, so he has to be willing to listen to everyone's position and be open to negotiating. And okay, I coined the term political expediency because I don't know what else to call it. If he's willing to consider negotiating away our Second Amendment right, what other rights is he willing to negotiate away? That's very troubling to me.
A red flag law, you've said this before, but I'd love for you to go through it slowly. A red flag law is going to violate the majority of the Bill of Rights, correct?
Absolutely correct, Paul. It's going to violate the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth and Seventh Amendments, and the 14th Amendment. There is no way to write a constitutional red flag law because, again, we're allowing the opposition to define the terms. They're saying the gun is the danger and not the person. Mm-hmm. So therefore, due process and constitutional protections are out the window whenever you're saying an inanimate object the goal is to remove it. We're taking property without even accusing someone of a crime. We're saying that they might commit a crime at some point in the future. And the proceeding is going to be ex parte, where you're not even allowed to be in the hearing where the judge decides.
Well, you don't even know. You don't even know there's been an accusation. So for those of you who are just joining us, the Arkansas General Assembly, and this is from some Republicans are considering, and the governor is open to, passing a red flag law, which would mean by a mere accusation, someone could make an accusation about you or about, your friend or a family member, and then there would be a court proceeding of some kind that you're not privy to, where the judge would decide whether or not to send officers to your home to confiscate your guns. Now, recently in Maryland, they have a red flag law. They went to confiscate a man's gun, and the man was shot to death by police. And I think you'd have a whole lot of that personally. But yet this guy never faced his accuser. This guy had no due process, and they shot him dead in his home.
And imagine this, Paul. I want to equate this to some other property that you own. Someone makes an accusation that you're going to drive drunk next week. You told them so. They file an order with the police to please go to a judge, and the judge says, okay, go confiscate his car so he can't drive drunk. So in other words, you're not accused of a crime. You're accused of maybe committing a crime at some point in the future. That goes against our entire system of America. That goes against our fundamental beliefs. Mm-hmm. This is extremely dangerous, extremely dangerous.
Tim, do we have laws that are already on the books that are there to try to report somebody that people think might be a danger to themselves or other people?
Paul, I did a quick Google, and I want to encourage our lawmakers, when you're faced with this argument that we've got to do something in the name of public safety, quit being reactionary. The best solution isn't always writing a law, because we already have laws on the books. Quick Google this morning, 573-110 allows law enforcement, if they encounter someone that's mentally incapacitated, they don't have to arrest them, but they can confiscate the weapons for 72 hours. Now, that also triggers other laws, 2047-210 in particular, but 2047-201 through 229 already address every one of these concerns. But what they do is they make it to where you have a hearing first, where you have an involuntary commitment decided on by a mental health professional. Okay, the idea is on red flag laws, you're dangerous, you're homicidal, you're suicidal, we're going to take your guns. That somehow makes you no longer homicidal or suicidal? No, I've still got a car I can run people over with. The laws we have on the books addresses the mental health crisis. And that's really what we're talking about. I don't want crazy people with weapons. If someone's a threat, let's get them the help they need. And we have laws on the books that already do that. Now, what we don't have is enough funding for the mental health crisis this country's undergoing. Arkansas has 200 beds for psychiatric evaluation, and we've got 3 million people. Do the math.
Yeah.
Now, we can't address this from a mental health perspective and do it right and ensure constitutional protections. Red flag isn't about making us safer. It's about gun control. It's about eroding the Second Amendment. And I'm going to encourage our conservative lawmakers to please look at the laws we already have on the books and realize this is a red herring.
Well,
red flag is a red herring.
Let me just kind of look into the future a little bit. If Republicans, and by the way, any Republican that supports a red flag law, somebody just wrote, Linda Collins Smith, I think, just wrote on Facebook that any Republican that supports a red flag law, you need to back up and take a second look at them. And I think that's an understatement. But in the future, right now we have constitutional carry in Arkansas. We got a lot, as we've seen with Forest City and with other departments, we got a lot of people that maybe are not on board with that. The Arkansas State Police refuses to acknowledge it because of money. So we've got people out there who open carry. And I was in the north central part of the state, Mountain Home this weekend. I was in the Walmart and saw a guy open carrying, right there in the Walmart. And I was like, wow, look at that. I mean, at what point do you get an allegation just because you open carry? In the future, we have a red flag law, and we got people open carrying, and there's still not enough people that know what the law is, and then all of a sudden you get reported because you're open carrying, and or let's say that you have a red flag law, and you go through a nasty divorce, and let's say your spouse just doesn't really understand that guns are tools and doesn't want your kids, to be in a home with the other parent because they have guns. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there is just so many ridiculous accusations that could come from something like this.
Well, Paul, we got lawmakers in Arkansas, and one of them was Bob Ballinger, said we could do this with due process. We could do it right. That's a red herring in and of itself. He says we're going to write in where it's a felony if you make a false accusation. How do you take that to court? I'm in the middle of a divorce, and my wife says that Tim's threatened to shoot up the mall. Well, obviously, once I get to a hearing at some point, because my gun's already gone and I'm defenseless for however long, but I get to a court proceeding and I say, no, I didn't say that. And my wife says, yes, you did. Okay, they can't prosecute that. That's he said, she said. So there's no way to keep false allegations out of this. And it's going to be abused. It will be abused. And you're going to have people that's defenseless without their weapons. And, oh, by the way, does that mean that you can never buy a firearm again?
In your opinion, the upcoming Arkansas legislative session, do we need any gun laws passed at all? I mean, that deal with gun control. Obviously, no gun control, but do we need any gun laws passed?
We need absolutely zero gun laws passed. Now, what we need to look at is repealing some of the gun laws that we have. I'm on board with that. We've got over 50 gun laws in Arkansas. And then you have the Arkansas State Police that on the concealed carry side, on the permanent side, they have 30-something pages of rules. We've got too many laws, too many rules, too many regulations, and you have people violating the law and not knowing it. We need to streamline this and get rid of some stuff. But you know what? Worst case scenario, leave it alone, legislators. We're constitutional carry. Let's move forward from that position.
Yeah. We also still have to look forward to, in the Attorney General in her last opinion before the circuit judge said what he said in his opinion, she urged the legislature to look back at 746 and make it more clear. The judge didn't need any more clarity. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen, correct? We want to make sure that they don't try to readdress Act 746 because I just feel like if that happens, we're looking at a regression.
Anyone that addresses 573-120, which is Act 746, is doing so in an attempt to get rid of constitutional carry. We need no clarity in the law. The law is clear. If you have any doubts, look at the Taft versus Arkansas case. If you have any doubts, look at the model jury instructions from the Arkansas Supreme Court. It clearly states that you have to have the intent to unlawfully employ that weapon against the person. 573-120 is one of the best written laws on the books, period, not just gun laws. So anyone that's saying we need clarity, they have an agenda, Paul, and not being honest. Our Attorney General is an attorney. She can read the law. She can read the Supreme Court's model jury instructions. She knows what the law is. We don't need clarity. We need folks to leave it alone.
Well, I certainly hope that that's what happens. But I know you guys, patriots of Act 746, the Arkansas Liberty Coalition. I know you guys are going to be watching this very carefully. The pre-filings are going on right now. So far, Tim, you guys haven't seen any legislation that has to do with our firearms yet in the pre-file period, have you?
We have seen some, Paul, and I think one of them was just withdrawn. It was creation of dropping the CHCL permit fees down and making a lifetime license available, which is just completely ignorant because the only purpose for a CHCL in Arkansas is reciprocity when you're traveling and skipping the background check when you purchase weapons. And a lifetime license isn't honored in other states, and it's not honored on an FFL purchase. Now, I was told through some of public outcry that was withdrawn and it's no longer being considered, and that's a victory for us. We've seen some other ones being talked about and filed in assault weapons where you got to be 21 to purchase an assault weapon. We're looking at these very closely, and we're also looking at legislation that they're going to try and sneak in some words. Maybe it won't be a direct assault, but it'll be an amendment to some type of bill that will affect gun legislation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? That's very interesting because that actually, backing up to the lifetime concealed handgun carry license, boy, doesn't that sound like such a, good thing on face value? You'd think, oh, yeah, that's fantastic. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a second. Then it's a worthless piece of, license because we can't Mississippi's not going to honor it, and Oklahoma won't honor, all these other places are not going to honor it. And so then that would be, so I'm glad that was pulled down, I think. And you know what? The reason that was pulled down, Tim, let's talk about how that worked, right? I mean, immediately you have people who are, out there, a majority of Arkansans who are engaged on these issues, people like yourself and Arkansas Liberty Coalition, they immediately said, hang on, let me tell you why this is a bad idea. And the public, essentially, being informed and educated, got the bill pulled down because immediately, I think, the sponsor realized, who was the sponsor, Tim?
Trent Garner was the sponsor, I believe.
So he must have realized, oh, wow, yeah, this is not a good idea. And that's a good thing that he responded and the people reacted the way they did. And more information, more knowledge is better than less.
Paul, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. If you allow the opposition to define the terms, you're going to spend all your time legitimizing their argument. Arkansas's constitutional carry, you don't need a permit in Arkansas. Nothing else needs to be said. The only reason for a permit is for reciprocity traveling outside of Arkansas and for skipping the background check on FFL purchases. So the very idea of let's reduce this permit and lifetime licenses, that's playing on the manufactured confusion that you have to have a permit in Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Patriots and Liberty Coalition, we're standing firm and we're saying, look, guys, here's the law in Arkansas. Let's don't get caught up in the weeds and confused. Tim, let's have some clarity.
Yeah, is there any effort on part of the Patriots to reach out to the Arkansas State Police specifically by encouraging them to say, listen, this is the new reality moving forward? Is there any way we can help you tell people this is now the reason you need a concealed handgun license? You need it when you travel outside the state, which many Arkansans do, and you also need it to get fast-tracked when you want to buy a gun. See, that to me is a way for them to continue to tell people, that you need this. It would be a way for them to maybe try to keep some of that money that they depend on in their budget. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to me, at this point, they need to get on board with that marketing to tell people, this is, you don't need it, but you do need it for these reasons.
I was a law enforcement instructor, Paul, and one of the things we said was we train for proficiency and not compliance. So simply reaching out and saying this is why you need a permit isn't going to be enough. The state police need to audit their own instructors. People need the training from firearms instructors to become proficient, to become safe, to know what Arkansas law is. Right now you attend a CHCL training and you get taught nothing. You're not prepared to use your weapon after that class. All it is compliance, not proficiency. So if they revamp their training program and say, look here, guys, we're gonna help you gain skills you need. And oh, by the way, this permit is good for reciprocity and for skipping the FFL background check. So it's an instant purchase of a firearm. Yeah, they can market it. And other states that have constitutional carry have done that, and their sales on their license didn't go down; it increased. But they were being honest with their citizens.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really good. I'm glad that you said that they were being honest with their citizens, and I think that's if we can do anything, from the grassroots level, we need to try to encourage our leaders and encourage the Arkansas State Police to adopt that mindset, because that's going to be, a better. That's going to be a government that works.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Tim Loggins with the Patriots VAC 746. It's always great to have you on, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, folks.
Have a good day.
Yes, sir. You too. Search for the Patriots VAC 746 on Facebook and ask to become a member of their group and join the online sensation today. We'll be back in just a moment.
Russellville-based firearms manufacturer Omega are making clones of the most notable German firearms in the world. These delayed rotor-lock firearms have been and are currently used by law enforcement and military worldwide. At Omega, they manufacture their guns right here in Arkansas and produce the best reproduction in the marketplace that comes with a complete 5-year warranty. At Omega, they take firearm manufacturing seriously and offer discounts to active and retired law enforcement. Whether you're using Omega firearms to defend the public, defend your family, or for target practice, Omega has your back. For pricing, go to omega-guns.com. That's omega-guns.com. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
And judges and, you name it, employers breaking our laws, nubbing their noses to our federal laws and for the immigration laws and actually, criminal laws as well. You're not supposed to aid and abet illegal aliens, but yet they do. And some of the employers, they play they don't know by hiring contract workers. They're not officially employees. But see, these are the things that, has to be stopped. And take a look at the judge in Oregon who blatantly assisted an illegal alien escape through her chamber door while ICE agents stood out in the hallway waiting to detain this illegal alien.
Yeah, we are becoming, on this issue, a country of lawlessness, really. And if the law's on the books, it's on there for a reason. And, we have a big problem. I mean, we obviously have a huge...
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
And we're entering into this kind of a discussion in the public view.
But it's not bad, Nancy. It's called transparency.
I know. It's not transparency when we're not stipulating to a set of facts and when we want to have a debate with you about saying we confront some of those facts without...
You know what? We need border security. That's what we're going to be talking about, border security. If we don't have border security, we'll shut down the government. This country needs border security. The wall is a part of border security. Let's have a talk. We're going to get the wall built, and we've done a lot of wall already.
How big a part of border security is the wall?
It's a big section. It's a big part of it.
Is it everything that you need?
It's a big part of it. We need to have effective border security. We need a wall in certain parts. No, not in all parts, but in certain parts of a 2,000-mile border, we need a wall.
How much money?
We are doing it much under budget. We're actually way under budget on the areas that we've renovated and areas that we've built. I would say if we got $5 billion, we could do a tremendous chunk of wall.
Mr. President, are you willing to accept less, though, and are your guests...
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. Look, we have to have the wall. This isn't a question. This is a national emergency. Drugs are pouring into our country. People with tremendous medical difficulty and medical problems are pouring in, and in many cases, it's contagious. They're pouring into our country. We have to have border security. We have to have a wall as part of border security. And I don't think we really disagree so much. I also know that, Nancy's in a situation where it's not easy for her to talk right now, and I understand that, and I fully understand that. We're going to have a good discussion, and we're going to see what happens. But we have to have border security.
Mr. President, please don't characterize the strength that I bring to this meeting as the leader of the House Democrats who just won a big victory.
Elections have consequences, Mr. President.
Let me just say...
That's right. And that's why the country is doing so well.
What the President is representing in terms of his cards over there are not factual. We have to have an evidence-based conversation about what does work, what money has been spent, and how effective it is. This is about the security of our country. We take an oath to protect and defend, and we don't want to have that mischaracterized by anyone. And
I agree with that. No, I agree with that.
So let us have a conversation where we don't have to contradict in public the statistics that you put forth, but instead can have a conversation about what will really work and what the American people deserve from us at this uncertain time in their lives.
The one thing I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened it up very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You've said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And I am proud, and I'll tell you what,
disagree.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So
we got one more hour coming your way next, ladies and gentlemen. That's President Donald Trump. Democrats are frauds. We'll be back in a moment.